Yeah, we're live now, so we're hanging
Okay.
out. It's kind of an on-the-whim hangout here, just to kind of get the Twitter atheist community together. And we've got Jan. She decided to join us, known as, let's see, what's your name? And Art Deco Diva. Did I say that right?
Art Deco Diva.
Deco. So why don't you just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, just became active on Twitter fairly recently, and I wasn't specifically looking for the atheistic community per se, but all the things was interested in kept leading me back to the same people. Um, and a lot of the gists, paleontologists, astrophysicists, etc., etc. And so I just started going down that rabbit hole.
You were saying earlier that for whatever reason it seemed like the rational people on Twitter just seemed to also be atheists.
Yeah, big time. You've noticed that, yes?
I've definitely noticed it, yes.
Yeah, if
At
you're
least
going
so.
to look for rational thought, there's a good chance you'll find that community. It's funny because
Well,
I
and
actually
I,
just started talking to you today for the first time, I think. I don't know if
yeah.
I've ever tweeted at you, but it was about women actually being what highly religious. You said what 25, 26% of the atheist community are women.
Yes. There's a site called Atheist Census, and that's where I got that figure from. And I love that the response was that, the religious community's hogging all the chicks?
Yeah.
Were you the one that said that?
That was Clint.
I
Clint's,
retweeted that right away. I thought that
Clint's
was
gonna be
great.
a theist again.
There was two things that were involved with this. The first one was you pointed out that that there was 25% of the atheist community that was female, and then the second thing that you said was that there was a secondary census you found saying that the population overall was at least half. You said I think 50% plus female, which in my mind just translated to the fact that half of the women are or half of the U.S. is women, and only a quarter of the atheist community is women, which means that religion stole the other 25% of women from us. Those bastards would have stayed with
Exactly.
the majority men.
Now, if these numbers are correct, I mean, why do you think that is?
Well, that's exactly why I posed the question. I don't remember how I said it, but I said I need to digress. I'm curious why it is that there are so many more men than women in the atheist community.
Um, Maybe men have it better than women in this country uh, because of religion, I guess. I don't know. Is it easier for them to get educated?
Never thought of it that way. It might be. That might be it. Social norms, peer pressure.
Well, that and there's so as somebody who was part of religion, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to word this without this sounding completely sexist. Um, and so I'm going to blame this on religion because actually I think that that's where it comes from. A lot of women I would accuse of not really running on all cylinders. There's exceptions. There's a plethora of evidence that women are in no way intellectually inferior to men, and if anything, the evidence through the course of my life seems to indicate that women seem to be intellectually superior to men. But that's another subject. The point is,
I won't
He,
argue. I won't
he's just
argue
cover,
it.
he's just covering for the first comment he made.
yeah. But the
Exactly.
point is, I find that a lot of women just overall, like as a general, don't seem to use all cylinders. Their focus seems to be largely on how to look good and how to get a man to take care of them. And I think that this is provoked by religion and being that we're still 90 something percent religious as a country. It may not be surprising to see a lot of women exit that slower, considering that they're not doing as much critical thinking about the belief structures that they're in. They're doing more critical thinking on how to maintain within this belief structure. So,
I have a different thought. I would think it would have to do same reason that a lot of blacks are religious, especially in the Bible Belt. Um, Face it, men run this country, particularly white men. So when you're a woman, you're not necessarily by numbers a minority, but the way you're treated, you're a minority, and if you're black, you're a minority. To be the minority of the minority is not an easy thing. So,
No.
given that, I think a white male coming out and claiming he's an atheist is gonna not get quite the backlash as if it's a black person or a woman, someone who socially isn't on the same level, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, I think a lot of it's finances. I think a lot of women feel trapped that if they can't, that they believe they need to be dependent on someone external, be it a man or a god, to provide for them. And it's, to me, it's not firing on all cylinders. It's not having enough sense of self.
That's a far better way to say it. Thank you for that, because that's what I was implying, but the way I said it sounded very sexist.
that was a very, very bad choice of words.
And I even
And
said,
I
I need
didn't.
to choose my words carefully, but...
I didn't jump on it. You notice. I could have, but I didn't.
Actually,
I cringed a little bit.
I cringed a little bit.
I need to
You
choose
guys-
my words carefully, and then you say like the worst possible thing.
Uh,
Well, I'm glad you guys cringed on my behalf. Thank you.
Nope.
But it's funny because we've talked about doing women in religion before on the show. When we've had G, if I try to say her real first name, I'm gonna say it wrong right now. So I'm
Genevieve.
sorry, Genevieve. Thank you. I wanted to say it wrong, so I'm glad I didn't try. Which is sad because I love her. I consider her like my sister. And then when we've had Natasha on the show, because then we'd have 50-50. And right now it's just you on the show, Jan. And so yes, you are against two men trying to represent women in religion. So thank you
Oh,
for-
it doesn't bother me. I'm kind of fearless that way. Yeah.
Actually, the other thing that I wanted to touch on in your story, though, is you were saying you didn't grow up predominantly religious. You grew up kind of free to decide for yourself.
Yes.
But you were a ways before we were in the sense of being able to decide
Just
for yourself.
say it. She grew up in a different era
Yes.
where it wasn't,
And
I
I'm
guess,
okay.
as acceptable to be an atheist, right?
Well, but where I'm going with that is that you were saying you didn't feel a lot of social pressure or anything like that, but a lot of atheists nowadays do.
Well, there was pressure from society as a greater whole. I just didn't care.
So that's the difference.
Yeah, I think there was probably more pressure back then because, I mean, if you look at the statistics, the rate of non-believers are just going through the roof. I mean, you got books like, Dawkins, The God Delusion,
Mhm.
and stuff like that would have probably not really been published back then.
It's
Yeah,
definitely-
I think it was tougher back then. I think
Uh,
it's much easier now, relatively speaking.
and
Although we're the most hated minority, apparently.
yeah,
We're
According
right
to the
there with the rapists.
yep.
Yes. Baby killers. Yeah.
It's I've heard amazing things on that subject too. I've heard connections made between atheists and rapists, which is strange to me because there's no correlation there.
Well,
But-
it's the same. It's the same mindset of people who don't think gays should marry. What
Yeah.
next? They'll marry a dog?
Now, why?
Yeah.
No,
What the
yeah.
hell
Why?
is that?
Why shouldn't gays marry though?
Yeah,
According-
I agree
I
completely.
mean, even according to them, I still don't understand it.
Well, because they're not procreating.
Yeah, well, so if you're a sterile woman, should you not be able to marry then?
It's weird to me
I
because
would
the
think
whole-
not.
Uh,
You would know better on this, Clint. You would know better.
Well, and me and Mike have touched on this before too. It's really strange because the Bible, as like I'm comfortable saying most theists read it, like in the sort of general census of how it's read, because of course it can be interpreted a million different ways, which he sort of corrected me on last time, because I said like, oh, the way it's meant to be taken. I can't really say that. Nobody knows the way it's meant to be taken, but it doesn't really say that people can't be gay. Like it labels it as a sin, which is the same way it labels lying or theft or adultery or anything else. And so it's really funny to me. It really is the situation where people don't like it, and so they've looked to biblical scripture as this excuse to make it taboo or render it something that shouldn't be acceptable in society. But if you look at like the 20s and 30s and stuff, perfectly acceptable. Nobody cared. It wasn't an issue until recently. So I do think it's largely political.
So if you think they just look to the Bible based on their own bias, then what if we get a movement for polygamy? What do you think they do then?
Interesting question.
Look at all the marriage references in Scripture, and there's more references that for polygamy than any other form of marriage.
But what about polyandry?
So, I'll put it this way. There's this great quote of my roommate. See, my roommate's a theist. I don't know if you know this, Jan. I know I've kind of joked about it on the show. He's actually kind of a Bible scholar, so he's pretty good on this stuff. And he's joked with me before about gay rights and the fact that there is something like 200 laws in the Bible to govern straight couples and how they should, run their marriages and stay together and how they should interact. There's only one that governs homosexuals. So clearly God thought that straight couples needed more rules on how to stay in line.
I liked it. It doesn't seem to be working, though.
It doesn't.
Half of marriages fail, and of the remaining 50%, how many are actually happy? Maybe half or less? So the odds are not good. Yeah.
I think that's the other joke that everybody sort of passes around, is that the reason that the religious are scared of the gays ruining the concept of marriage is because they might actually make marriage something that would last longer and be happier and make straight couples look bad in comparison.
Not only that, but marriage now is unfortunately a government thing. It's not a religious thing. If you just have a religious wedding, but you don't get it signed by the state, have them, it means nothing. You're not getting the same benefits. Mm-hmm. So, if gays just want to say, fine, we're just going to do it through the state and not, the church at all, because they may not be religious, I don't think anybody should have anything to say about that. If these individual churches decide not to perform gay weddings, so be it. But that's not the issue here. The issue is the law. The law and, the separation of church and state says that they have no say.
Yeah, do either of you know what happened to the whole domestic partnership thing? Like, wasn't that a thing for a while where that was okay and you'd get state rights, but you weren't, like, officially married?
I don't know the status of that right now.
Because that seems to have been swept under the rug. I don't know what.
I still think that's irrelevant.
Well, I mean, that would be like the compromise situation.
There's no compromise. No, there's no compromise, Clint.
Well, because it's all the state rights, and it's just not frivolously labeled as a marriage. It's labeled as a domestic partnership.
Label it a fucking marriage.
Well, it is a marriage. I mean, everybody was aware.
Well, why do you got to label it different, I guess, is my question. Just because they're the same sex.
No, my thought was, like, what happened to that? Like, was this something that the issues you were talking about was raised, or was this something where I wonder if the religious community considered that too close to marriage and got upset with it? Like, I'm kind of curious where that went and why.
I don't know. You can look at that. I think that's largely irrelevant, because if it's not marriage, then I don't really care. You're still treating a group of people differently, which that's not equality. So
yeah, definitely. It's a sensitive issue for me because I lived in the Bay Area for 25 years, and lots of gays, and I knew couples that had been together 15, 20 years, way longer than a lot of people have been married, and they had no rights. They couldn't be in the room if their partner passed, for example. Especially when the AIDS epidemic hit. And it was just horrifying to watch the agony these people went through. It was really heartbreaking. Yeah.
It's so wrong. Well, and I had so many gay friends growing up that this has actually become kind of a personal issue of mine that I've started yelling about and becoming more vocal about, especially on Twitter. Like, I have a lot of pro-gay comments and stuff. It's funny because I've had a few people pop in and be like, hey, like, are you gay? Like, you're talking about this stuff a lot. I'm never sure if they're hitting on me or what, but I keep getting that sort of thing. And I've just decided that I don't
Well,
answer
you're
anymore.
cute. So.
I told you earlier I'm sensing a love connection.
There's a budding romance here between me and Jan.
But I dated this poor. Well, I shouldn't put the words in that order. I was dating this. We were both tall, thin, blonde, blue-eyed in San Francisco in the early '70s, and he just happened to have a beautiful face, and he got hit on mercilessly. I mean, I felt so bad for him. So I suspect you may be right.
Felt bad for him.
People hitting him. Huh?
So why did I feel bad for him?
Well, because it made him uncomfortable.
I am 100% heterosexual, but if a gay guy hits on me, I just take it as a compliment.
You know
Yeah,
what?
well, I took it as a compliment. If I'm attracted to a guy, then somebody else is attracted to him for the same reasons.
Not to mention, a lot of gay people they have a lot of fashion sense, so I take that as maybe an extra compliment.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because it's something that, like, even though I'm outspoken about it, like, I'm still not entirely comfortable with it. And so, like, I'm totally comfortable, like, advocating for the rights, like, but when I have somebody who's actually, like, I acknowledge that they're hitting on me, it still puts me off a little bit. Like, I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, trying to acknowledge whether or not, what I should say. But it's silly because I shouldn't. And I know I shouldn't, but I do. And I'll admit to that.
Is it because it's another man, or is it just because it's not the social norm?
I couldn't tell you. To be honest, I'm slightly put off when women hit on me, too. So it might just be that I'm not used to that kind of affection.
You're put off when women hit on you? Then I'm out of here.
I know, I was like, Clint is an asexual. I did not know that. We all learned something today.
Well, I'm not used to that kind of attention. Like, it makes me lose my words. I get nervous, and and so it may not have anything to do with the fact that it's a man who's hitting on me, but it definitely I notice it more with men, I guess. I don't know. If the few instances where I know for a fact I've been hit on by a man, I can definitely say it made me uncomfortable. So I definitely can sympathize with your husband, but at the same time, I suppose I should just be taking it as a compliment because that's what it is at its roots.
Yeah,
it's
really.
Just a compliment.
Yeah. Quick clarification. Not a husband.
Oh, not a husband.
I've been divorced for decades, and it wasn't him. So that was just an early boyfriend. I married once very young and said, I won't do that again. I don't mind making new mistakes, but I don't want to make the same mistake twice.
Actually, it's funny. I should ask you. Do you have children?
No. I chose not to have them. Like I said, I don't fit in a lot of the boxes.
That's fine. That's kind of the vote that I'm
Clint
into.
said too.
Yeah.
What's that?
Not after children.
No, he doesn't fit in the boxes.
Oh, okay. I said that? I guess I don't fit into boxes. Depends on the size of the box.
Somebody watching this later will get that.
I'm sure that they will. It went over my head.
Jan might have just got it.
Sure.
It's all right. If he gets it, he may blush.
I'll probably get it later, like when I'm rewatching this, and then I'll just make fun of myself quietly to myself. So the other thing that I wanted to bring up, switching to a slightly more relevant issue, this atheist census thing that you brought up, I did not know that this was a thing. But this is really cool. And this seems to be based largely on people visiting the site and entering a small bit of information about themselves. What do you identify with as a non-religious person? Atheist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's different denominations. And then, what's your education level? Where were you born? Just taking information, basically. And this is really cool. Like, more people should do this. It looks like they've got 261,000 people who have currently done this. Anybody who happens to see this, I suggest hopping over here because this is cool and we need to get more people to do this. Like, this is really neat.
Awesome. It's awesome. Look at how well educated the atheists are.
On a side note.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
For background, Mormon is not an option, so shame on you, Atheist Census, because there are ex-Mormons among us.
Isn't there a small group of others?
There is an other, yes, and I'm going to have to be an other because I
Now,
can't.
here's a stat I'd like to see. Denomination, like the percentage of atheists that used to be believers and their former denomination. Like how many Mormons actually became non-believers as opposed to, say, Catholics or...
They have the Catholic one. They broke the Catholic stats out separately from
Really?
Christianity. And the Catholics make up about half of the former Christians that are now
That
atheists.
makes sense. I just think Mormonism is... It's almost a community in itself where everyone you know is Mormon. Clint, you could probably speak to this. Like, you go to Utah, so I don't think there's that many former Mormons in comparison to other faiths.
I think that's absolutely true. I forget what I said earlier. I have a bunch of people on my Twitter. There's a whole bunch, some number that I feel like is pretty good. I'm proud of it. But I have a handful of ex-Mormons on there, of apostates. If you ever see the hashtag apostate, that's what that is. And it's tossed around a little bit. And if you go to the search bar, anybody or yourselves, you type in hashtag apostate, that is the ex-Mormon hashtag. And there's quite a few in there. Like there's a fair number, but a lot of these are seem to be very brief accounts. So I'm not sure if that's the best place to find an ex-Mormon community. I'm kind of constantly searching to see if I can find more elsewhere. But when I first joined Twitter, I didn't think there was any. And at some point, I was in a conversation with BJ Price, and somebody popped in and was like, "Oh yeah, like there's this apostate tag," and that blew my mind. Like the fact that there actually is a small group on Twitter.
But no, apostate is just anybody who renounces religion.
Sorry, apostate.
With a K.
Yeah, APOSTAKE. And so they've kind of cornered that little misspelling of apostate and used it for themselves. And it's kind of neat. I like it. So there is a small community that's out there. I don't have very many that I've found. Maybe there's more, but it's definitely smaller. But I think that they should have this on the census. That's where I was going. Sorry, I'm ranting forever, but that's where I was going. Is I think it should be on the census because I'd love to see what percentage is actually Mormon. It would be interesting.
You might be able to get more specific info, but I don't think so. At least from this census, anyway.
Yeah, there might be more detailed censuses elsewhere.
But the two things I noticed most about the census was the obvious gender gap, but also the educational level.
Yeah,
It looks
no
like you're looking at that
coincidence.
screen as we speak. And the education level is much higher.
Well, 97% of the National Academy of Sciences are atheists. So, I mean, that's a huge number from a prestigious academy. The most prestigious.
I think that makes sense, though, because when you start studying the world and actually trying to figure it out, the sort of resulting implication is that God is highly unlikely.
Yeah, because your God of the Gap shrinks to nothing almost.
Yeah.
Exactly, which I was not at all surprised to find this on that census.
Yeah. It definitely makes sense. The other thing that I'm looking at here and noticing, this is kind of interesting. You see a lot of green countries because it's got them highlighted by how many are there, and basically grayer countries have less atheists, greener countries have a lot. U.S. really bright, and Brazil and Canada are pretty bright. Australia definitely up there. I definitely see that on Twitter too. There's a lot of Australians. But the shocking one is the Middle East. And I guess that shouldn't be that shocking, but it is. Like, that's the other really bright country.
Bright means what? And
like
first of all, Middle East isn't a country.
It's more green.
Green is what?
More atheists.
Yeah, and
more atheists.
Yeah,
the greener, the more atheists. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you said the Middle East is a country.
I know, but specifically it's Turkey and it's Iran.
Turkey actually makes sense.
Turkey kind of makes sense, but Iran is
Iran,
also pretty green. It's not real green, but it's definitely greener than like everything else around it.
It's all
Uh,
relative.
yeah. But comparatively, it also surprised me that the U.S. is so green. I mean, a little bit. I mean, it makes sense, but it does kind of surprise me because I do feel like there's a really, really big chunk of religion here, and it's greener than I
most.
expected.
Well, this is
Yeah.
only measuring atheists,
Yeah, this is just
countries'
based on
atheistic
numbers.
leanings.
But is it
Yeah.
percentage atheists or numbers of atheists?
Numbers, just straight
Okay, that
numbers.
makes more sense with Iran then, given the amount of people compared to the rest of the Middle East.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense then. Yeah. Um, yeah, and then the rest are not surprising. United Kingdom, Norway, etc.
Yeah, a lot of information in a really simple pie chart. I was very
Yeah,
happy. I found that, I think, 2 days ago. And
this
anybody
one
that haven't
makes
filled it out, do. Yeah.
this
We
one
have.
kind of makes me happy too. Preferred title. Atheist, non-religious, humanist, agnostic, freethinker, rationalist, other, or secularist, and 63%, so far more than half, prefer atheist.
Well,
Mhm.
think about who's joining or putting it on the site though. Probably
Fair enough.
people who are kind of outspoken are gonna go to atheist census.
That's okay, fair enough.
I didn't seek them out. I don't know how I ended up there. I
Huh,
think maybe somebody retweeted me the tag or something. I don't know.
well,
Yeah.
this is cool. This is cool. Yeah, 30% Catholicism is a religious background.
Yeah, out of like 60, what, 5% or something Christianity.
Yeah,
Right? It was about half of it. Yeah,
yep, yep.
that's what I thought. Yeah.
17% none. So that would be Mike and such. 10% Islamic, and I'm in the 2.4% others. So yeah, I guess Mormonism is probably even a small percentage of the other.
Oh, being on the small part of the pie chart is not bad at all. I'm there in most pie charts.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, us being atheists, we are on the small pie chart in
Yeah.
general, anyway.
Uh,
Well, if you look at older people on Twitter, women that never had children, I forget, vegetarian. I end up being just a little sliver on a chart someplace.
Are you a vegetarian?
Over 40 years,
Okay.
wow.
way ahead of the game.
I feel like vegetarian is one of those things that most people give up on after like 10.
I wouldn't even try.
Well, I was 17 and I thought about the bacon cheeseburger I had so enjoyed and the process that happened. And if I wasn't going to go out and gut and clean my own meat, then why would I pay someone to do something for me that I would not do for myself?
That's a really cool way of looking
That's
at
okay.
it.
I have gut and cleaned my own meat, so I'm good. I can
So you're
stay meat
safe.
a meat eater. I'm good. What
But that
about you,
was
Clint?
I've done it, but I haven't done it in a long time. Then again, there's nothing that could make me give up bacon, so it doesn't matter if I
I know.
am doing it.
I saw you eating bacon earlier.
So these
Or
are
was it
actually
Twitter?
licorice.
Oh, Twizzle. Okay. I look like bacon from here. But
Um, I did have bacon earlier, though. I had bacon this morning.
oh. One of the few things I miss. I miss the flavor.
God doesn't want you to eat bacon, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
So, just saying.
And
Probably should not sell those in stores.
just on a general note, by the way, I like I like to refer to myself not as godless, but God-free.
Mm.
Big difference to me.
But is there a difference for you? I mean,
Yes,
what's
there
the
is.
difference?
Godless infers you're something less. That you are missing something.
But in reality,
God. Hmm?
I said that in reality, you freed yourself from something.
But
Mhm.
she didn't even free herself from it, though, because she never had it. See, if I'm missing something that doesn't exist, then I'm not missing it. It's a philosophical thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, but the term still implies.
I'm missing
I
a
see what you're
uterus.
saying.
You can have mine. I'm not using it. You have no idea who you're messing with, do you?
Oh, I like you.
Did I make you choke? I'm sorry.
No, that was good. Oh man, that's. I mean, I see what you're
Wasn't
saying.
expecting anybody to offer me their uterus, to be honest. That's a first.
Well, I haven't dated in 15 years, so I'm not using it to feel free. Clint is blushing.
He is blushing really bad.
I'm actually not blushing. I'm flushing. I'm laughing so hard that my head is full of blood.
Oh.
Anyways, oh god.
Oh no! Now he's playing the God card. I heard it.
I see what both of you are saying, though. I mean, on one side, Mike is technically
I'm uterusless.
Uterusless, yeah. On the other side, though, I see what she's saying. Like, the word less has an implication that you have been removed of something or never had the ability to get something, and that usually has a positive implication with whatever it is that you are less of. And so I see exactly where she's coming from, that terminology can have this negative inflection where it's like, oh, you know, I never really, or I don't have that anymore, I've lost that, or I got rid of it. It doesn't really imply what it really means, which is that atheists...
Well, the word less just means without. Like, homeless, without a home.
Well,
Uterusless, without a uterus. I mean, it just means without, really.
well, yeah, but godless. Clint and I are on the same page on this. Is that
Well, then you're in trouble, Jan.
You're somehow less.
He's getting defensive because his Twitter handle is godless.
No, I'm not even getting defensive. I don't care. I just don't see the point.
Yeah,
Like,
I think there's societal baggage that goes along with godless.
There's societal also that goes along
Not
with
for me.
atheists.
Yes, that's true.
I'm an anti-theist. I'll say it.
Mm-hmm.
Clint won't, even though he is. That's another topic.
It's also something that we can go on about forever.
Yeah, I shouldn't have probably said that.
Too late.
I've already convinced him. I think
No.
in this drunk episode that might get released if we get 50 subscribers. I'm pretty sure I made you.
I think what I said in the drunk episode was that I agree with a lot of anti-theist
No, you
concepts.
agreed with me, but you didn't want to call yourself that.
Oh, I did admit that I probably do have some sort of a stigma with the word. Yeah, I think that's in the drunk
Yeah, you
episode.
did. So
Yeah.
just because you have a stigma with something doesn't mean you're not it.
Well, just because I have a stigma doesn't mean that that's the reason that I'm... We're going to go on and on about this. Let's not...
I'm good with that. Let's grill him some more.
Here's an interesting thing we should do. Jan, would you consider yourself more of an anti-theist or more of an atheist? Or do you have an opinion on the matter?
I think it's entirely possible to be both.
Well, it is. Anti-theist, you are an atheist.
Yep.
But do you consider yourself, I guess, an atheist who isn't necessarily anti-religion, the belief of, you know, any theism really, or just an atheist where you lack a belief in a God?
Well, that's why I separated it out and said I think there are two issues here. Anti-theist, for me, means sort of actively anti-religion. Atheist, for me, means my personal choice.
I mean, that's fair enough, in a way.
So like, here's how we've been breaking this down, is kind of the idea that I think that even though religion is kind of largely negative for the population, and I would kind of agree with that. I think that it has a lot of stipulations on education and on the quality of life that we see in the cases
Clint,
in like Indiana and stuff. I don't think that it's overall like impressively detrimental. I think that that it's something that can be sort of dealt with. I know.
we're going down this road again.
Uh, and we've never been able to qualitatively like put out a definition
Yes, we have.
between
You
the
just have
two
not
that the
disagreed.
other person accepted. Because whenever he said a definition, I didn't agree with it. Whenever I've said a definition, he doesn't agree with it. But I
Just
would
because I
say
agree
that
with
Just accept,
definitions.
just accept what I say as gospel, and you won't have any problem.
I actually agree. Like, okay, so an atheist is just a lack of belief in a God. That's personal, like what Jan said. Anti-theist is saying that religion is more harmful than good, and you're outspoken
Yes,
about it. That's
that's
basically what I
exactly.
said.
Okay.
All right, me and Jan are on the same page. Clint?
I don't know if I can
Oh.
honestly say it's more harmful than good.
Oh,
I agree that it
you
is
already have
harmful.
said that.
I agree that it is harmful. I just don't think it's can be honestly labeled as being more harmful than good.
I already labeled it so many ways in the past why it is, and you've actually agreed with me in shows that haven't been published, but I think they're saved, so I can go ahead and publish them.
That's fine. I mean, I've agreed with you on a lot of points, but and moving on.
Actually, there was the one question you answered that basically answered the whole thing for me, and that was, is it detrimental for you and for society to believe in false things, whereas is it more beneficial to you and for society to believe more true things? Obviously, you said more true things. I don't think you would disagree now, right?
I
Ooh.
think we should move on because this is going to go on forever. Because
Okay,
even though
let's move on.
I don't disagree because of the wording.
Hmm.
Here's what I'm saying. Believing false things can be useful.
Placebos.
Yeah, sure, I don't disagree with that, but they're still more harmful than useful.
So religious belief historically where it's had purpose, I feel like if you look
You're
at
speaking on a
religion,
personal level. I'm speaking for the human species on a large level, though.
no, you're speaking on a modern day level, I'm speaking on a historical level. If you look at
Oh, you
religion
want to go
through
to
the
the
centuries
historical level? Let's talk about the
entirely,
Dark Ages. Sure.
we're
Talk about how we should
we
have
can't do
flying
this now.
hovercrafts right now.
We're having guests. This is supposed to be about the people and Jan.
All right, Jan, say something that's gonna get us off this topic, because we will go forever.
Okay, I have an idea for a way to get gay guys to stop hitting on you, Clint. Are
Become a
you game?
woman.
Are you game?
It depends. What do you got?
Transgender. Become a woman.
Okay.
Does this involve me taking over your uterus? Because I don't know if I'm down for that.
Hey,
No, I'm afraid
that's
not.
mine. She already offered it to me.
I'm gonna have to tell my friend in London I gave my uterus away. He might not be too happy. Anyway, I was thinking that maybe you could make a T-shirt that says "straight, not narrow." Oh, I made myself laugh.
I like it
That's
with the Divine Inquisition logo right across it.
You've just come up with our first T-shirt idea. Uh,
I tend by nature to be a fairly creative person. It's true.
that might describe the show in a slightly different way as well. um, anyways,
I bet it would work.
it would probably work. I'm just trying to think of how many of them I'd have to own to wear that every day and be sanitary.
4. How often do you do laundry?
It's probably 60.
You could wear like the shirt twice before you gotta wash it.
Oh, okay, 30. I probably do.
How often do you do your laundry?
Never mind.
I'm joking, people. I promise I do my clothes more than once every 2 months,
So you say.
at least.
Maybe more often than I do mine.
Maybe. I possibly do my laundry more
It's like,
often.
I've been wearing this for 3.5 months.
Divine Inquisition. We're an interesting podcast where you can hear us talk about laundry. That is.
I thought we were clever on the name, Divine Inquisition, and then we talk about fucking laundry.
And my uterus.
Let's
Yeah.
face it. Jan's uterus is the most interesting thing to happen to the show since the origin.
Probably, yeah.
Oh, it's the thing I love about Twitter, though, is I would never have been having this sort of conversation, either in person or on Twitter itself.
You actually bring up a good point, too. I think that's largely why the atheist community is growing and a lot of people are willing to come out, is because, I guess, technology and being online, being, social media sites like Twitter where they have people that they can connect with and they don't feel so alone.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're just looking for rational thought and you come to atheists. Now you make friends and talk to people. You're on a podcast. You're being live streamed to 0 viewers right now. Oh, damn. That's all right. This will go up later.
Well, we usually get, what was it? Our first episode has like just under 100 views now, somewhere in there. So we have viewers. They're just not here right now.
Well, this is our first live one, so
Yeah.
hopefully eventually.
We may have just timed it bad. Fortunately, we have Jan to come in and save the day.
Yeah. She's an unpredictable one, that's for sure.
I was going to say your reason for getting on Twitter was a little bit funnier than just you were looking for rational thought. You were trying to send a message to somebody.
Craig Ferguson. So wait, were you watching Craig Ferguson and it said to tweet him at Craig Ferguson or something? And you're like, what's this tweeting thing?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
But as an older person, I don't want to just be a relic. I love the fact that there's this spontaneous, smart, rapid-fire interaction going on all the time.
You are
It's so
anything.
addictive.
You are anything but a relic. I will say that right now.
You're very, very, very much part of this rapid fire going on.
We've had a few people on the podcast and had trouble getting them to fire back as quickly as you are. So, and this is live. This isn't even on Twitter where you have a minute to think. So, you are far from a relic, my dear. But it's not just you either. I mean, Sandra, she's I think she's younger than you, but she's definitely a little bit older. And I want to say I'm gonna totally not say the right person here. If I don't look this up real quick.
I'm a little confused. Who else have we had on?
Well, we haven't had these people on, but I was just saying that it's funny to me that there is actually Di is older at Daibo and Helena Handbasket, which I'm sure is not her actual name, of course. Helena Handbasket. And,
oh, I get it now.
Yeah, and anyways, these are I believe older ladies. I'm gonna feel really bad if one of them is not older. Like if Helena's younger, I really don't know on her.
Really 32, and you thought she was 56.
Yeah, she's gonna get mad at me later.
Well, Clint's a baby here. Clint has always been the baby of the podcast, no matter who we've had on.
Yeah, it's the truth. But I'm okay with that. And it's funny to me because these older ladies, they're the ones who I get the most social interaction out of. I don't know how to explain it. But I'm getting along with like you on Twitter, we've had a lot of interaction. Sandra, me and her have talked a lot. And I love it because it's just great. Like, there's so much actual intellectual conversation that's coming up. Specifically, it seems, I don't even want to say older women, because on Twitter, I didn't know any of you were older.
How long have you guys known each other on Twitter?
Today.
Okay.
No, we've known each other a little bit longer.
I was going to say, because I
Really?
just met Jan today.
Yeah, the one who was asking you about your... I just change my picture fairly often, that's all. The one who was
Oh,
asking
you're the
you about
one.
your picture, that was me.
Ah,
So when you
okay.
were telling that story, that's why I was kind of chuckling, is because that was me who was talking to you about that a while back. So I've actually
Ah,
been... me and you have had a little bit of interaction before, and I love it. It's fantastic. Like, some of my favorite people seem to be in that demographic, the same one as you're in.
well, that brings up a really interesting point, because perhaps it's because the women who are no longer have the responsibility of child rearing, like their kids are in school or older,
Have a lot to say.
uh, have a lot to say because they're not financially vulnerable.
Yeah.
You ever think about moving to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Clint?
What's in Florida?
Actually, slightly north. Go more Boca Raton, West Palm Beach.
I,
A lot of
I,
older cougars there for you, buddy.
Oh.
I was worried that's where you were going with that.
They got money too, so they could be your sugar mama. Intellectual conversations.
Well, I just think it's kind of a funny point that each and every one of you I've heard kind of say that same thing. Like, oh, like I was this older lady and I was just hung for this, and I was just kind of, and then I found like this stimulating intellectual conversation. But that was a lot to do with what I was saying earlier when I said that a lot of women seem to be intellectually superior. That seems to be the case. In full genuine honesty, I meet a lot of women who seem to be, more intellectually stimulating than I do men, and a lot of them seem to be in their graying years, and it's fantastic, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Huh.
I'm
But
watching us live.
is there a delay? I'm sure there is, but is it like a big delay?
Yes. Hang on.
Say that same thing. Like, oh, like I was this older lady, I was just wrong for this, and I was just kind of, and then I found like this stimulating intellectual conversation. But that was a lot to do with what I was saying.
Yes, there's a delay. Slightly.
I'm,
Early on, I think maybe before we even started going live, you'd mentioned something about kind of a disclaimer about how direct and forthright the conversation could be.
yeah.
I think it was some sort of a primer to sort of forewarn me that it could get dicey. Is that what it was?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know that we were talking about this show has been everything from just topic coverage to like outright fierce debate.
Mm-hmm.
And we have gotten strong-worded and aggressive and talked over each other, and so that might have been more to what I was saying, was just like don't be afraid to just hop in and say it. But you didn't refer me to be somebody who was worried about doing that for very long, anyways. So
Not a problem for me, as you can tell.
yeah. But it is, and we were hoping to have a lot of people on too. So where is everybody? We need more people. Actually, we don't. This is a good group right here. What am I saying?
We could use some people actually watching though.
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
But if no one watches, whatever. We're still having fun.
Yeah.
But what's so sad is I have no idea how to get to watch.
Oh, you will have an idea because I will link it to you.
Ah, okay.
All you gotta do is push the button. You can do that, right? You can click a link.
Yep. That's how I got here tonight. Yes?
Yes, same thing.
Same thing.
That's the other thing I was going to say, because I did have another subject I was going to bring up. The conversation that actually got you on here was about the Indiana thing with gay rights and all that kind of stuff. And since that seems to be kind of a trend that we've been talking about, I don't know, seemed like something to bring up, poke at you guys, and
Is
then
that
see
all
what
you
your
got?
thoughts are. Well,
Um,
because we've never really covered it, so.
well, no, this is what I think. I hear these right-winged Christians kind of spin it and say about religious rights. They should be able to turn anybody away based on their religion. It's not anti-gay because it could be anybody. But as I brought up on Twitter, then okay, then you can refuse promotion to women because in the Bible it says that a woman cannot have authority over man.
That's how
Um,
we got in this conversation.
yes,
That's
that
Mhm.
exactly how we connected.
and
Yep.
that's what Clinton was saying. That's where the conversation started. Now, what happens when somebody adopts a black kid and treats him as a slave, and the government gets involved, saying you're mistreating this kid, and they say no, 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 it's my religious right. Because
Exactly.
here in Deuteronomy, and it's it's very, I want to say like a slippery slope, but it's not the fallacy because then I can go ahead and marry several people and justify it because polygamy is very relevant in the Bible.
Yep.
And
Um,
go ahead, Clint.
so the other thing I was going to bring up is the theist who I was talking to in that debate did raise, I think, what was one of the better arguments I've heard. And he's against the whole Indiana
Let's
thing.
hear
He
it so
was
I can
just,
shoot it down.
I'm sure both of you will shoot it down, but I'm just curious how you shoot it down because it was kind of an interesting thing that he brought up, which is if a Nazi supporter, like a Nazi worshiper, I think is
Hmm.
what it was the word she used, a Hitler worshiper, walks into a Jewish gunsmith's store, does that gunsmith have to repair this white supremacist weapon?
Sure.
Or can he deny service to that Nazi?
No. Why can you? Why would you deny service?
Um,
Just because you're offended or you have different beliefs? That's
I
where
don't
I think
know.
this whole thing stems from.
See, that was kind of my thought too, but it is kind of an interesting point that, like, should that gunsmith be forced to work for
Should
somebody?
should a should a black owner refuse an old white man because of slavery? I mean, you're going to disagree with people. You're going to disagree with people
Yeah.
vehemently on certain points. It shouldn't change the fact that you have to serve them. I mean, if people are against certain tattoos, for example, somebody, you can say swastika, you can say something a little less offensive, but still offensive. Well, now if you're at a restaurant, does the waiter not have to serve you? Of course they have to serve you.
Yeah.
Don't let your
I
beliefs get in the way of that. You're going to disagree on a lot of things, even if it is
yeah,
offensive.
I agree with you on the slippery slope. I think if you give an inch, you give it all.
Hmm.
That's what. Never mind.
You're back to my
Not going to go
uterus.
there twice.
um,
Oh. I had a lot of friends who used to do drugs when I was younger, and I wasn't sure if it was a compliment or not. They always told me I didn't need to do them. Oh, sorry.
Uh,
I haven't laughed this much in a long time. It's very nice.
that's good. You should come on with us a little more often. But we have gone about an hour, so we should probably wrap this up. Is there anything else you want to say, Clint? What face is that? Say something, Clint.
this is this is uteruses, giving inches, doing drug dealers, and laundry. This is what we have become.
Oh, that's just the last 15 minutes or so.
Jan, it's been a pleasure having you here.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
I think that we were expecting to get a group of people, and we got you, and you were almost better than a group of people. So, thank you because you've made
Oh,
this possible, and you were a blast to have on here. And maybe we can even get you on here again. I'm going to say the things that I always say on a video that's going to be posted on YouTube, which is, give us a thumbs up and a subscribe, and comment in the below part where the comments go. And yeah, goodbye. Back over to Mike.
Yeah, I want to thank Jan. You are absolutely welcome anytime. Feel like we could
Oh,
talk
thank
about
you.
anything. Religious, non-religious, uteruses. Next time we can talk about ovaries if you want. It doesn't matter.
I didn't bring it up. You did.
I guess it's
You
my
brought up
fault. I was
uterus.
trying to make a point, and then you offered yours to me. So
No, this is probably one of
brilliant
the
response, though. But
this is probably one of the more hysterical shows I think we've had as far as just
it's
general hysteria.
yeah, right up there with your drunk episode, maybe that hasn't got posted yet because we don't have 50 subscribers. But
Oh, that was a good segue. Yeah, if we get 50 subscribers on this channel, I am going to allow Mike to publish me very drunk on camera.
again, I teased this before. He does rap Weird Al's Amish Paradise in there, so it's worth
So
it just to
don't
see that.
subscribe. Don't subscribe, actually, so I don't have to see that on the internet.
Other than that, Jan, any last thoughts before we stop here?
No, it's just been wonderful. Enjoyed it immensely.
Awesome. And last thing, if you want to tell everyone who you are on Twitter so they can follow you.
Oh, I'm Art Deco Diva at Comcast.net.
Forget the Comcast.net part, unless you want to email her.
Uh-oh.
No bids
Just a
going for
Twitter handle.
uterus. So uterus is mine. Don't try to outbid me. I will also link that Twitter handle in the description for anybody that wants to follow her, which I don't know how you wouldn't if you see this. And other than that,
clarification. Sorry. On Twitter, my name is slightly different. It's at an Art Deco Diva. I'm sorry.
and Art Deco Diva.
Sorry.
All right.
Should we spell real quick?
ANARTDECODIVA.
Yes.
And it will be linked in the description. So,
Okay.
we'll see you later.
Au revoir.